Thank you. Good morning, afternoon to everybody. And because I guess we go across from California all the way to Nova Scotia. Nova Scotia's on that side, right, Andrea? Yes. Okay, good. Thank you. So,
On the
today,
east.
out east, that's what I thought. So today, we're going to be going over Amorphous crystals, which I'll go into. But I'm going to do my 3 C's that I do before we start, which is choosing, cleaning, and charging crystals. And so in choosing crystals, lots of different ways to choose crystals. Today I'll be showing you a crystal that was given to me, but wasn't chosen, it was found. And I guess in many ways, most crystals are actually found by somebody. So I thought that was very kind of telling. So yes, you can go, one way to get crystals is to go rock hounding for them. I would have to wear gloves because I love my nails, but I actually know that there's places in Denver. There's a park in Denver called Gold Pan Park that actually you can find. Um, did I just lose somebody? I did. That you can find fluorite, and you can find rose quartz, and also pan for gold, which probably is completely all gone at that point. But just something interesting, another way to find crystals. So crystals can be purchased through contacts. They can be purchased in a store. They can be done online. Do your research. Word of mouth to other vendors is a really good way and source. That you can, Jordy sells crystals, and she's a really good resource. There are so many different platforms electronically where you can find really good sourced crystals. Sometimes I use a company called Crystal Council. They're expensive, but I know that they do the research in terms of making sure that it is not child labor and all of that. And then I also wait until they have really good sales a couple times a year, like 50% off, which then makes those crystals buyable. But they have lots of different kinds of crystals, and so I like that because they have a broad range. Etsy is also a place. Amazon and eBay are, if you know a vendor that uses Amazon as a platform, then that's probably a fine place to get it if you are aware of someone who's good. But that is, you have to be careful, and that's kind of at your risk, unfortunately. And unfortunately, it just seems like because the popularity of crystals has become more popular, what we're finding is more and more people are, or not more and more people, but there's more and more fake crystals, which I find incredibly irritating and heartbreaking. Malachite is just an example that you really have to be careful. So there's lots of different ways, and you just have to make sure that your vendor is a good person. Going into a store or a place, and the way to choose it is if they wink at you. That's my theory. If you look at something and you go and it goes, hey, and then you're like, oh, ooh. And that can be, if you're researching online, you can suddenly find a crystal that attracts you. And then you can go to your sources and say, hey, I need this kind of crystal. Do you have it? Or do you know someone who does? That way you're keeping it you know that it's probably coming from a decent place. But it is, if it winks at you, if you go into the store and you're looking for something very specific, sometimes that can be very good, but don't ignore, what you're looking for specific, but don't ignore the one that's like, I know I'm rough, but baby, take me home. So, those are the ones that are like, okay, I have to go in with a financial limit because they all talk to me. They all say, take me home. So that's me. So those are ways to choose your crystals. Now, when you get your crystal home or it arrives, there's different ways to clean them. We have to be very careful with crystals that we don't wash ones that can fall apart. Actually, I'm talking about 2 today that you can't wash. So with crystals, I don't use water because I don't want to have to memorize which ones you can and cannot. I use smoke, which I had burning, but it has finished burning. So you can use smoke. You can take your crystal and move it through the smoke, and in your mind, you're cleaning. It is being cleansed. The smoke is taking out what it's holding so that it's fresh and ready for you to use. And that smoke, there's sound. I have my little singing bowl here, and I'm going to put an Apache tear in it. And you can put them in it, you can put them by it. It doesn't matter, but you then hit it. And this one's a little wobbly. Can hear it. I can hear it a little wobbly. I'm not sure if it translates. But less wobbly. Sorry. Much smoother. So obviously my little Apache tear needed to be cleaned. But that's a way to use sound. You can use your voice. I won't do that to you guys because that would be cruel and unusual punishment. And you can also use breath, which I will show, but it's also something that you have to build up in yourself to be able to be really good at it. I am getting better and I have used it, but it can be a challenge. And so it is that you're centering yourself, you're grounded, and you are in your mind using and holding that you are clearing off the threads that this crystal has. And so then you will be able to have as close to the earth connection with it. And then you can, breathe in, hold your thought. Actually, that worked. Kind of proud of myself there. That one doesn't always work for me because sometimes I feel like, yeah. Anyway, so that's one way. And what else? Some people put salt. I wouldn't use salt because salt can also certain mineral compounds erode with salt. So I don't use salt. You can use sunlight and moonlight to cleanse. I know that we use them for charging as well, but you can use them to cleanse. And that again is intention from the moment that a crystal winks at you. Intention is the thread that carries it all the way through. And so then about sunlight, be careful, couple hours only. Don't leave them in the sun for a really long time because the colors do fade. Fluorite is one specific one that fades really fast. And I actually have found an amethyst that I'd had by some plants that is now a very light lilac color when I'm pretty sure before it was a nice dark purple. So even amethyst can fade, but just for a couple hours, again, intention. The moon, remember, if the moon doesn't shine on your windowsill, that is okay because the moon shines through, right? I don't know about the rest of you, but usually that first night of the full moon, I don't sleep well. And it is coming through the wall. I'm pretty sure it's coming through the wall and saying, "Ooh, wake up." Yep. And so I don't that then the full moon I sleep okay, but that first night I have a little struggle. So I know that the moon can shine through, and it's true for the sun as well. If you're using sun to charge something. So now going on to charging, other words that are used. Hang on a second. For whatever reason, my computer decided to start writing down everything that I was saying because I have the type. It just that was very strange. Anyway, moving on. Charging, I use the word charging because that's how it feels like to me, but it's really your intention. Another word, like if you're reading in crystal books, it'll say programming. It that's the same thing. Um, but it is getting that crystal as close to its source and then asking it for something specific or to share with you its strengths. So if I was to have to be stuck on an island, what crystal would I take? I would take a clear quartz because even though there are other crystals that I absolutely adore. Clear quartz will hold and is a great one if you are looking for something, a very, very specific energy. Clear quartz is a really great one because it can hold it, the structure of it, and it can then radiate it, and it can be a part when you're using it. So as much as I love rhodochrosite and so many other stones, if I was on an island and they said only one, I would take clear quartz. Now I'm like thinking about it. Moving on. So programming, again, you are asking that crystal for assistance, or you're asking you're asking for it to bless you or provide you with its strengths. For something like you have with obsidian, you would be saying, you're requesting and its presence for protection. It's protective stone. Um, so if there are stones that you resonate with for something different, then that's okay because everybody's got a different, just like my analogy is perfume. You can smell. So a book says, or a bunch of books say, this is what the stone means. And then when you hold it, the frequency that you pick up is going to be different than the frequency that I pick up. And it's like perfume. You smell it, it smells great. You both smell it. You probably smell close to the same thing. You put it on, it smells different on me. Put it on Jordy, and it smells completely different on Jordy. And you're like, wow, it smells musky and smells on her and smells like flowers on me or something completely different. It's amazing. And crystals can have that same thing, which is why sometimes certain kinds of crystals will resonate more with a person than other ones. And then also sometimes the ones that you're not resonating are ones that you actually need because they have something to assist you to work on. I have this ongoing relationship with labradorite, where I know I need some of it, what it holds, but it's also uncomfortable. And so we negotiate. So programming, that's programming. Most of that comes from the inside. Again, intention all the way through. Now, today, so we've been working on the lattice work for the past 6 classes, and now we are the crystalline lattice work structure is complete. There is another type of that we associate with crystals. It's called Amorphous. And I just put it in the chat. And these are stones that we assume that in our minds are part of crystals. We think of them as part of the crystal family, even though they do not have a crystalline structure holding them together. Am I going to go into that kind of structure that they have? I am not. That is some chemical engineer, somebody else can go into. That's not something I can do. But I know that the crystals that we've been working with have had very specific structures that have been very much about the energy that comes in and then goes through the different crystals in that category. With Amorphous, it is very much to do with individuals, that individual crystal. And that's, we call them crystals, but they're not, but we still call them crystals. So I'm going to go over a number of different ones today, more than usual, just because I wanted to sort of give a huge range of what they, what our ideas or what their stones are. The one of them that I will not be going over because I've gone over before is obsidian. Obsidian is an amorphous crystal. It is not part of the crystalline structure. However, we always think of obsidian as a crystal. And so that is part of, we'll be looking at a kind of obsidian, but we're going to start with a unique crystal, or I'm going to call them crystals because this is what they come. This is, if you go to a crystal store, these are where you find them. If you are looking for them, they're going to be under crystals, even if they're not crystals. So the first one I'm going to go over is called a Shiva Lingam. And Jordy, can you type that in? Thank you. So it can look like this, where it's just brown. They're always oval shaped. Look like this. They have different shades of brown. Many of them have this look. This is a more common look that you see, where half of it is darker and the other half. They are only found in India, and they are only found from the Narmada river. And they have been worshipped in India for a very long time. They have a connection historically to Shiva, which is why it's called a Shiva Lingam. And it is it has a very plays a very important part in India and in Hinduism. For us, and I have a bunch. This one's actually really cool. I don't know if you can. Oh, yes, you can. It's got this kind of cool design. So these are actually made from earth. And they are, some come naturally, but many of them are made by people, women, made by women on the river. And so, and then they are found many times, used, like we have them, but in India they're put in temples. And so it has this, and this stone has been using it as a stone loosely. Okay, I want to read that. That's awesome. So that's because you picked up on it, because I was going to do it last week. So that's how we work. And so they're a balance between masculine and feminine. They are so they're seen as the union between Shiva and Shakti, which is one of the names of his wife. There are lots of names of his wife. There's, of course, it just escaped me. I had it for a second. So they are very much to do with the balance between the masculine and the feminine. And they are associated with a person's ability to create peace and to be able to have a wholeness, because this is the whole, like it's a whole, it is as it is as a whole. And it's not masculine or feminine, it's both. And so there's this aspect that causes it to be like if you are feeling too much one way or the other, then this is a great stone to work with. It gives emotional stability, is another thread that it comes through. And mentally, it gives you, it's a focus. Again, we're talking about being, it's like a grounding stone. It is not specifically, it is seen as a full energy system stone. It's not particularly centered around, say, like the root center, or it's not. It's seen as a full spectrum. And that's, again, the wholesomeness. I guess if I was to choose one word to do with this, it would be wholesome, because it is the whole. It is, can help with meditation if that is something that you struggle with. It's a great stone to allow you to balance and be in harmony inside, which then allows you to meditate. Meditation for some people, for me, is a struggle because it's hard to sit completely still. I can do about 20 minutes and then I'm like, I gotta move, I gotta wiggle. And so I find doing doing things, meditating while I'm doing something is much more centering for me. Some people can meditate for hours, and God bless them. That's fucking amazing. I am in awe of those yogis in India who just meditate all day, eat 2 grains of rice, and just keep going. I'm amazing. And so, and I lived in India for 2 years, so I have a special connection to, and part of my practice in my life is very influenced by Hinduism. And so this is a stone that I found early on, and I absolutely love it. I like the little ones because they fit in your pocket. Not so much, would look a little strange, especially if you're a man. But little ones work perfectly. And I have a not like some stones. Sorry, dude. Some stones, like the bigger the stone, the more you feel it. This is not one of those stones. I feel as much from this little one as I do from this. It is not a stone that bigger is better, and bigger is not always better with crystals because you can always connect to the whole planet and its connections. So, but sometimes if you're holding a bigger piece, it's a little bit stronger just at the front. And so this is not one of those stones. It is, I feel just as much from this little one than I do from the big one. And then it is considered to have the energy of transformation, regeneration, and spiritual evolution. It is considered to be in the, it is in the shape that it is the flow of energy. This is what's believed in Hinduism, is that it's the marriage between Shiva and Shakti, and that's how it becomes the divine energy between the two, and it becomes wholesome. So I love this stone, absolutely love it. And but I'd still take the quartz. I'd still take the quartz on the desert island. um, yes, that's true. So that is Shiva Lingam. That is one of the stones. It is not a crystal, but it is a crystal. And I'm going to put them away, except for the one that I'm going to keep out. And I keep them because they do scratch. And this is like when I said we're going to work on a couple that you absolutely do not want to put this anywhere near water because it will affect it directly. So I'm going to put this away, keep my one. So that's Shiva Lingam. Now, another stone in some ways has some frequency, not frequency similarities, but makeup similarities. So we're going to talk about what's called fairy stones or Menalites. And they are made on the banks of some waters, of some no, that's some rivers, no, not rivers, some lakes, and they naturally form. They're not made by people, they are naturally formed, and they can look like this. This is one kind. And I'm not sure where this kind is from. The next one I'm going to show you, I know it's from Canada. So these ones are from Canada, and they are very much a stone, a feminine stone. This is one that I have held a lot because I find it very helpful for hot flashes. And so it is a stone that I have used. That's why this one's slightly different color because of the oils in my hands, having held it. It is, so it's a type of secretion, is what it technically says. And so it is irregular shapes. So yeah, so they come like they all look absolutely unique. This one's not showing. There we go. They all look absolutely unique. This one looks like that. That's the feminine goddess from gazillion years ago. That's what that looks like. And this has a feminine energy. This is very much a feminine frequency stone. And it is made, so they're natural. These are naturally made like this. This is how they're found. And the reason I know these are from Canada, because the person that I bought them from found them in Canada and got them and had like 100,000 million, bunch of them. And so I was able to get a good handful. So they are really good with being calm. Like, so we think about feminine energy. There's certain frequencies that go with feminine energy, and that is that sort of feeling calm, being grounded, being protective, feeling safe. The Mennonites, these fairy stones, have that frequency where it gives you that comfort. It's like a comfort crystal. Yes, this is a comfort crystal. It is very much about helping sort of when you find that that your inner peace is rocked. It is it's a great stone to help you get back to yourself, right? Because life takes us out of ourselves, and we have to like be for example, the world wants most of us to be it's a masculine presentation. We're always having to do this sort of masculine thing, and which we see in society and the rules and everything like that, but we still have to do it. Right? Is that sort of doing this, and then you come home and you're off, and then you can't like you're empty, so you go and you get something like this and you just hold it, and it is like a heating pad on your back. I'm telling you guys all my comfort all those things that give me comfort. So, but it is, they're good for stress. They're good to get you grounded, not in that sort of like pull you in, but it's more like cocooning, like you're cocooned in that kind of grounding. Because there's different, I never really thought about it, but there's different kinds of grounding. And so this is very much that kind of giving you the stability internally, emotionally, mentally. And it is because it allows you to have that. It is great for focus. Because when you're in the best of yourself, you are able to focus, you're able to concentrate more, you're able to learn easier. And so this is one of those stones that can help with that and just give you that bit of extra oomph to be able to get over mental hurdles. So if you have been trying to tackle something, this is a really good stone to be able to work with, so that so that you can come from the best of yourself, the part of you that's you, and then come forward. It is obviously it's a symbol of nature and of, the nature spirits and that realm of things. And so it has that higher aspect. Again, it's one of these stones that is not specific to a specific center, but it's one of these stones that will also connect you to nature and that feminine part of nature, that aspect, the soft part of nature, not the hurricane, the light rain, the difference. It'll connect you to that. And it is because of that great connection to the feminine, it is good for endometriosis or menopause for me. I'm going through whatever the bleep it's called. I'm going through it. And it's a great stone. I mean, it works. I would pinch it when I would start to feel, I would have it in my pocket and I would pinch it and then it would stop. So it frickin' works. And yeah, obviously this is the one that I use because it's all dark. Like, but they come in. The first one I got was like, I got two like these and I was like, wow, I didn't know. And then when I was at this rock show last year, I got a whole bunch of these because this was the person who went up to Canada, up in Canada and was getting them from Canada. And I was like, wow. And they came in like all different sizes and like, yeah, it was very cool. I like the small ones because you can hold them and it gives you that. It is because this has that kind of security feel to it. It's a nice stone to just hold. And so that is the fairy stones. And no, don't do that, Tanya. Just keep going. I was gonna go put them away. So the next one is not one that we think of as crystals, but something that a lot of us use, which is abalone. And many people use it for when they're cleaning, or when they're using smoke to clean, they use it to hold their smudge sticks or their smudgy, whatever they're using for smudge. I just use a frying pan. So anyway, I have a baby cast iron frying pan that I use with charcoal. I wouldn't use charcoal in this. This is most of the time people use it for smudging, but it's also got some, it has a long history in the United States. And it is one of those, it was prized by the native tribes. And it is very much to do with, again, like the other two, it is for all of the centers, but it's got a lot of that aspect, very, not the same as a fairy stone, but in along the same lines, where it has that emotional stability, that bringing you back to yourself, that feeling all of you. And you think that this has got all the colors, right? It's that iridescent, it's got all the colors. So it's going to be affecting all of the centers, because the centers are very much connected to color. And so they are, so it's this sort of like allowing, calming emotions, stress reduction, and giving that peace, giving a sense of peace, tranquility. Again, when you're feeling that, that's a time when you're able to think more clearly. You're able to make better decisions because you're centered in yourself. Not in a protective way where you're grounding to be protective, but in a way where you're like, okay, I need to be able to think about this certain situation, and this is a great stone shell to hold on to. This is my little one that I have that I like because it's something, and it fits in my palm, which you probably figured out already today that I like things that I can hold. It also has, because of this, and obviously this was really stupid. I should have said at the beginning. Obviously, it has a connection to the ocean because it's from the ocean. And so there's also that, there's a purification aspect to this shell in connection to the ocean, in that connection out to the ocean, and allows that the ebb and flow. So it has a little bit of that, but it still has that comforting, centering, like the divine feminine feel to it. And yeah, and then so a lot of times people will get it, and they'll get it with the smudging, and then you'll have this, which is a protective. People put a protective coating right there so that it doesn't burn through, because you can. It's a shell; it can be burned. So that's quickly over abalone. Now the next one. Not sure if Jordy has pulled out anything for me, but we're going to talk about opal. And opal. Okay, we won't talk about opal. I'm sorry. No. So, opal is not a crystal. It doesn't have a crystalline structure. As most of us know, opal has a water element to it. Needs to be, it changes color. Literally, when you find it in the ground and you pull it out, it will start to change its color. And this is, so the one thing to know about opal, so we're just going to give a very, very loose overview, because there are all colors of opal. And I have a bunch. I have some green opal. I have some yellow opal that actually almost looks like, has that obsidian, that volcanic look to it. I have some black opal. Looks like calcite, but this is opal. I don't have any raw, but I have some purple opal. This is from Mexico. And then I have some pink. So it comes in all colors. This is called hyalite. And it's a kind of opal that is not opalescent. It doesn't have the fire opal. It doesn't have the it doesn't have that. Now, I have a very special opal, which is, Jordy, you're going to have to go on unmute and say the proper name of it.
Oh, why he?
So this is an Owyhee opal, and it is only found in Idaho and a little bit in Oregon. Those are the only places that it's found. It's found in the Owyhee Mountains. This was gifted to me. And so, and this is one of those stones when it changes color over time because of the fluid changing. So I know Owyhee, yes. And this is it's a very special opal, this one. Absolutely very special. All stones are special. You're all special. But this has a very unique frequency. I'm not going to go into it because I'm just going to give an overview of opals, because remember that color is going to play a major factor. And so the color of the opal will change the frequency. So I'm just going to give like a very just sort of like a shell of a definition, and then you have to add in the stuff that we've learned about color, because that will then fill in some of that. Obviously, pink opal is going to have much more to do, and green are going to have much more to do with the emotional center, but that doesn't mean that's the only place. Yellow is going to have to do with the solar plexus, but it doesn't mean that's the only place. It's just the colors are the ones that this is where color really plays an effect. Now, opal is, as an overview, is very much to do with healing, emotional healing. And there is an aspect of, even with all the colors, of love and of passion that goes with opal. It has a lot to do with resilience, that kind of, so resilience in terms of, we were just talking about the fairy stones and the Mennonite, and that Mennonite, Menalite. So yeah, close. No, I'm just kidding. But that's really very soft. This is much more, not saying that this isn't soft, but this is much more, it is about coming inside and more to do with expression, more to do with how one expresses one's emotions or one's feelings. Has a very creative aspect to it, that all of the opals have to it, but it's going to show up differently, where you take something like the Owyhee, where you're talking more about some mental stimulation, some mental creativity, and coming from one's truth, an aspect of justice and higher healing, and also to do with, so that's going to be a little bit about the Owyhee. Each one of these would need to be researched and looked into as a whole. But because I wanted to just bring up opal, because I think many ways we have a very limited view of opal. We think of the fire opal, Australian opal. There's actually a TV show called The Opal Hunters on Discovery. I just saw it advertised yesterday. Forgot to tell Jordy, but there is a show called The Opal Hunters. And the next episode is going to star Jordy, because she goes opal hunting all the time. That's awesome. That's awesome. Of course, we'll have to go into this later. So again, I wanted to bring in opal because it's just one of these stones that it is not just about the fire. It is not just about that aspect of things. It has a inspirational and a core awakening feel to it that can stem from a specific color, but that that kind of spiritual connection and intuition, and that intuitive aspect of things is very much to do with all opals. Where you come from can be more color oriented, but they all have these aspects. They all have this transformative and manifestation type aspects to them. And if you just think about it, when you take it out of the earth, it starts to change. That talks about, something changing. And so it has this aspect of supporting change, being supportive of change. And so it's, any of them may be very helpful if a lot of things are changing and you need support. I would think pink and green opal would be very much to do with if you were having some kind of emotional change, something really big happens emotionally. Fire opal, the black fire opal, I have one somewhere, but I could not find it. And all of those iridescent colors that are in it, that speaks about the whole system. It doesn't speak about one color. It is connective, and that's part of the stones that have that iridescence to them naturally is very much connected to our intuition and building our clairs, because it takes all of those energy centers to be able to tap into them. Now, if you have areas that need assistance, opal can be a great support. If you feel that your worth, that your confidence isn't as much as it could be, yellow opal could be very helpful in helping you build and open up all the way. But that's looking at the color yellow. So again, in this case, the color, it plays a huge aspect. So it kind of comes in through the structure and then, into frequency, that kind of frequency. It is a water element. Sorry. The Shiva Lingam, the fairy stone, and now the opal are all water element stones or crystals. I just thought that was a little epiphany. Just thought to share it with you guys. Yes. It has that, they all have this aspect to them that is connected to that emotional part. The fairy stone and the Shiva Lingam has that comfort. Opal has that resiliency, that core strength that I think is a little bit different than the other two, where the other two are a bit more comforting. This one has that, gets us back to the backbone. That's really good. It gets us back to our backbone emotionally and mentally. It can help, again, to do with the change, to do with the how things access how a person accesses one's intuition. This is a really great stone to help move us forward towards that. And yeah, it has that manifestation aspect, bringing it into reality. It's a good stone if you're working on a trait. You want to bring a certain, you want to grow a certain essence. You want to grow, I want to be happier, just off the top, not anything tied to it. And it can be any color, can help with beginning to move that forward, giving you the clarity to see what you need to do, what are the steps that it takes. So opal's very, very powerful. The Owahi one it's a little bit different. It has a little bit of a different frequency than the other opals. Is Owahi known as blue opal. So yes and no. I'll let Jordy take care of that. It is, they are called the Oahe Blue Opal. That is true. It is, but it's a very specific, the Oahe one is very specific. It is only from that mountain, those mountains, and is only found there. And this piece is very special to me because I know the person who found it and who gave it to me. And so, Jordy. And so that's, and it just has it has a different frequency, but it has, I was going to say this one has a real like, kind of like, I'm going to kick you in the ass feel. It does have a bit more of that sort of, but again, back to the backbone.
Yeah, that's my residual energy still clinging for dear life on there. Sorry about that.
That's okay. It brings you back to the backbone.
Don't take it personal.
Fine.
It's to everybody.
Anybody who gets one is going to go kick some ass. There you go. Anyway, it does have definitely a different frequency than some of the other opals that I have. And as you can see, I have a bunch of, and I have a bunch of ones. So they're really powerful. It's a very, very, very powerful tool in working with crystals. Opals are incredibly powerful. And do not be misled that they only come with the little sparkle and that's an opal. Don't fall for that, because that's just not it. I mean, you look, first time, this was one of the first stones that I got in a box, and I was like, what? And then I started doing research into opal, and I was like, wow, oh my gosh, so much. And they pack such an amazing punch. And so that is opal. And again, it's going to be navigated through with color, because color plays a huge aspect with it, but it does have this get you back to the backbone, get you back to that strength, and it going through and being able to navigate one's, I'm going to see what you get to say. You have to see. Yeah, no, they don't have iridescence. That was the, when you first start with crystals, you think opal, I thought opal was always iridescent, and it's not. It is absolutely not. And the reason it's called an opal is because of the structure of it. The structure is the same as that iridescent one. And those iridescent ones, if you don't take care of them properly, will not be iridescent forever. And so there's ways to take care of them that I'm not going to go into, but anyway, that's opal. Now, because we didn't really go into any of the, like a crystalline structure, I did another stone just to, so we're also going to look at Apache tears. These were also gifted to me. I gave away the ones that I bought. I would give them to my hospice families when I worked in hospice, but I kept the ones that were given to me, and I love them. And so an Apache tear is a type of obsidian, and there is a story that I am not going to open up because it's something to look into, and I don't want to do it a disservice by just trying to glaze over it, because that's not appropriate. So there is a story, a legend that connects to the Apache tribe. And so take a look at that legend, take a look at the history of that, because I'm not going to go into that. But it has been used for a long time, and it's been a part of practices for a long time. They are found like this. And some of them can come looking a little more like jack, sort of straight edged. And I've seen some that are, I mean, this is almost, I mean, this looks almost polished. And I have a couple, I have a couple that were polished, but I have to say that the frequency, some stones don't seem to change much when they get polished. You can feel it. It feels very similar, but I'm going to be honest that the Apache stones that I've gotten that were polished don't have the same frequency. Makes a big difference. So I wouldn't, if I was going to wear one, I would wear it in one of those net necklaces or something so that it would hold it, or the coil one around it, because I wouldn't, the polished ones just don't cut it. And so these have to do with emotional healing and, again, comfort. They are good at assisting with grief. And this ties to the story. Take the time, Google the story. It's totally worth knowing. But they are, the reason I would give them to families that I worked with in hospice is because they are at that point when they're dealing with a lot of grief. And these stones are very helpful in helping a person handle and being able to process grief and move forward. And when a person loses someone, their whole life, their whole life completely changes. And Apache tears can be very protective during that really vulnerable time. They are like they are like obsidian. No, they are obsidian, which has that incredibly strong protective aspect. So they carry that, so that when you're dealing with grief, because when people, especially in your face part of the grief process, you become very vulnerable. You become very open because basically your life is shattered and you are trying to rebuild. And so Apache tears can be very protective and grounding. It can give you some of the mental strength that you need in that time. So even if you're not dealing with grief, they can be very good at providing mental strength and that kind of resilience. We talked about earlier the resilience. Opal has like that emotional kind of resilience. This has more of a mental kind of resilience that even though it completely connects to that emotional aspect that comes with grief, it also has that ability to help you think through those times, because that's what it does. Like, yes, it's very good for trauma. It's very good for dealing with karma and things that you might be carrying that you are not necessarily fully aware of, but that you are as part of your part of where you're at and what you're facing. It gives their link. It's again, it's that safety. It's a safety. There's a feeling of safety, and it is emotional, but it's also mental. It gives you a bit of mental safety so that you don't go flying off to it keeps you, because it has the grounding aspect that is so prevalent with obsidian. It has that, it still has that, even it is because it is obsidian, but it is as you navigate through change. And again, change can be grief causing. So don't, this is not necessarily to do with somebody transitioning or somebody dying. This can be when someone has to move or moves. And there's a huge, transition, and you become more open in that time. This can give you protection that is not quite found to the same degree with other stones. And they, because many of the times you don't get them that polished that often, but when you get them, you feel the earth. You feel it's obsidian has the grounding aspect, but the Apache tiered makes you feel the ground that it came from, the dust that's around it. And so it has that. And then at a spiritual level, it's really good when you are changing ancestral connections. And when you're spiritually having to change, because sometimes spiritually at that inner depth, we realize that it's like the towers in the tarot, where there's two towers and one is falling down. And sometimes we realize that we may have built some stuff on a platform that is not stable. And so we have to adjust how we're going about things. And these are stones that can really help with that. So I am going to wrap that up, and we will close the recording at this time. Thank you so much for coming. And it has been very, very good. We will talk in a minute. Let me just get I have to ask. Can we turn the recording off?
It's not letting you stop it.
Because you started it, I think.
That's fair.